Okay. So, what are your thoughts on three ways?
You're so awkward.
You're listening to the Laughing Couple podcast with your hosts, Brittany and Ryan Ostafy. Join them weekly as they discuss topics such as relationships, kids, sex, parenting, all unfiltered and all with a healthy dose of laughter. Please welcome your hosts, Brittany and Ryan Ostafy.
Okay, so I really would like to start off this episode today with...
Why do you got a little bit of a British accent there?
It's because we were just talking about a British person. Sorry, I want to start off this episode today with Ryan.
This podcast to start off by...
Sorry, do you want to do your impression of an Australian?
This is Ringo Starr.
Ryan just carved me the other night because Cooper was like, hey mom, can you say Saskatchewan in an Australian accent? I tried, I butchered it, like Saskatchewan, like it was so bad. And so then Ryan was carving me and then I'm like, why don't you try? And then he just went straight Ringo Starr, which is his accent for literally everything. Why don't you try?
I've talked about this on this podcast.
Why don't you try to say, I want to go to Saskatchewan?
First of all, I've never heard an Australian refer to Saskatchewan ever in my life. So I don't know how they sound.
Neither have I. So why don't you just try it?
Not only do I not know how they sound, Australia is a very large country and there's multiple areas of Australia that their accents are slightly different.
All I hear is excuses.
Anyways, my accent is from Liverpool.
It's not Australian.
I know. That's why I said no.
Let's hear it.
No.
Say, I want to go to Saskatchewan later this year.
No, if I do it like, put another shrimp on the barbie.
Yeah, that's what you said.
Then I'm like, put another shrimp in Saskatchewan. I literally just, I instantly go right to this one.
It's every time. Okay.
I feel like my British accent requires a bit of a, what do you call this?
Underbite.
An underbite.
Yeah.
I feel like for me to do this properly,
metaphorically speaking,
my bottom jaw needs to come out this way.
Yeah.
And my tongue needs to like almost be lazy. It's got to be like a fat tongue. This is what I'll do right here. Anyways, you got it, Jake. Jake is literally. How do you watch someone try something without doing it? It's like when your kids are making you're like ooh, with your face.
For doing what?
When your kids are doing something, like you mimic their faces. Well, that was Jake's phone. Yeah.
Anyways, okay. I want
do
you
not
to
disturb.
I want you to tell the story about because we constantly are experiencing moments of, oh shit, we're not in that age group anymore. And it's bizarre to feel like you're an adult when you're an adult and you're no longer like relatable to the youth. And it's just, these moments happen all of the time and they're so uncomfortable. But you had one the other day when you dropped Riley off at school.
Yeah, well, I had two back to back. Well, one was like, and this is what it came back when I said, Brittany, like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know why I seek the approval of kids in grade school.
Yeah. No, it doesn't even be in grade school.
High school,
it's everywhere.
Grade school.
I felt that when I was teaching high school. I'm like, I wonder if they think I'm cool. And then I was like, wait, I don't give a fuck if they think I'm cool. But you do have that moment of like, am I a loser? So I'm walking Riley to her class and I had to go around the grade 7, 8s. And this is not the weird thing. This was weird for me to have done this. I'm like, why the fuck did I do that? I passed the grade 7, 8, and one of the teachers was like, all right, guys, if you're in grade 7, I need you to line up here. If you're in grade 6 or you're in grade 8, you need to wait there. And all of these people were looking at this teacher like she was an idiot. And so me, naturally, I'm like, if you're in grade 6, I say it out loud. And I'm like, wait a second, I should be on the teacher's side here. And here I am trying to get these grade 7s and 8s to think I'm cool and I'm making fun of the teacher. What? If you're in grade 7, and you're like, I can just picture you be like,
yeah, loser. And as I walk by, I'm like, why did I do that?
Man, I know. It's so bizarre.
Why did I do not need their approval.
No. And then you just like walk away in shame.
I'm
like,
almost a 40-year-old man.
Me?
I'm like, Rock on, grade 8s.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Have a good day. Teachers suck.
Yeah. Hashtag losers.
And then you're like, wait, no, I am the teacher.
I am older than the teacher.
Okay, what's the other one?
Well, then after I had dropped Riley off, I came back to the other side of the school. And when I came back to the other side of the school, there was a bus, and that bus had been obviously late. Mm-hmm. And so all of the kids are getting off of the bus. And as I was walking, I had a group of kids in front of me and I had a group of kids behind me. And I was now in the group of kids walking down the same path. And I said, again, instead of just walking and just being a normal adult and allowing the kids to do their thing, I thought I'd take it upon myself to look at the kids and be like, not sure how I got in this line, but it looks like I'm late for school. I'm like,
everyone's like,
the one girl's
whose dad is this?
The one girl who's clearly in grade 8 and she's taller than me, she looked at me like, dude, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And I was like,
yeah, I'll just see myself out.
This sucks. Oh, God, and I had like 50 more feet to walk. And I'm like, this could not happen any faster.
I feel like that's what I felt like when we were at Binghamton's. So we went to Binghamton's, and when we were all lining up, I don't know if you were, no, it was all 4 of us when we were going down like the magic carpet one. And so the guy that was like at the top, making sure that everybody was doing things right, there was another dude at the front who was a little bit weird. Like he was an adult, but he was like talking to other people in line. He wasn't going, and then like went off to the side. And I'm like looking at him like, what are you doing? Is he going? And so I look at the kid who's just like, he doesn't give a fuck. He's just standing there. And I'm like, is this guy going? Or like, what is he even doing? He was like, I don't know. I'm like, yeah, me neither.
Yeah, we're not cool anymore.
No, we're not cool.
We're just not cool anymore. And the idea that we think we have to be is what bothers me.
Like, when do you reach that time?
Now.
No,
we did.
Like, no, you didn't let me finish. When do you reach the time where you no longer care? Do you know what I mean? Like,
I'm not there yet.
Me neither.
I'm not there yet, and shockingly not there yet.
Yeah.
Like, why do I need that same guy? Not the same guy, but when we got to the bottom of the slide, the other guy he was pretty cool. Like, if I was his
like,
age, I'd probably be the guy at the bottom. And he's like, "How's the ride, man?" And I was like, "Really good, man." I'm like, "Fuck me." Like,
when's your shift up? You've been here all day?
I'm like, what can I say that's cool right now? I'm like, the slide was slippery. Like, honestly, what do I got?
Slippery snake.
It was slippery. It was a snake.
Slippery snake.
Could you imagine I said that to him?
Snack.
How was the ride, bro? It was slippery, like a snake. I'm a slippery snake. Sir, you want to get your kids?
We need security to the bottom of the slide ASAP.
Oh, you know what I actually said to him?
What?
I'm like, it's like, how was the ride? I'm like, not bad. My fat ass got me almost to the bottom. And he's like, cool. I'm like, oh.
Like, what are you expecting him to be like? Sir, I don't think you're fat.
No. Yeah.
I think you have a great figure. I
was like, oh my God, why did I have to go there? And B, why did I have to like diminish myself? Mm-hmm. I got to the bottom of the slide because I got to the bottom of the slide. The kids who weighed nothing, I had to go back and get them.
I know. It's sad. Anyways, we're at that part in our life right now where we still seek the approval of children. I'm very much looking forward to not having that in my headspace. And you're right. I thought that I would be there by now. Like, I actually think we should do a poll, like on Instagram, to see how many people are thinking or feeling the same. And you have to be honest. Like, because I think people would be like, I don't give a shit. And then put them in a room with a bunch of teenagers. You do. They're intimidating.
When I walk in the morning, and the kids are waiting for school and the bus, right? There's 2 things that I've noticed. Number 1, none of them talk to each other anymore.
I know, it's so sad. It's because
every single one of them has their headphones in their ears and they're listening to their own individual music. Nobody communicates with each other. It's like watching 17 zombies sit at the corner of the street that I've got to navigate behind because they're so in their own space that they don't even realize that a human being is walking past them. I got to walk on the grass. That bothers me.
I will say this though, like I took the bus in high school, and the bus in high school, like my bus stop, I only had one other friend there that I knew, and everybody else was just like random. Like it was the neighborhood that you lived in. So that didn't necessarily mean that you were friends. And iPods were out like when I was in high school. And I remember putting my like iPod, where they weren't earpods,
headphones
in.
Keep going.
When my friend wasn't there, because I was like, I didn't know anybody enough to like make small talk, and it was uncomfortable. So it was kind of like a safe space for you to be like, sorry, I can't hear you. Like I have my headphones in, but do you know what I mean? Like, and today there's just zero, like I find that they don't know how to communicate face to face. It's so uncomfortable. And we've talked about this a bunch of times because they'll go in their own little space because it's uncomfortable to socialize and they don't know how. And I think the pandemic also heightened that.
100%. And you can tell generationally wise, you go to the gym and you can tell without actually asking the person or like trying to figure out based off of what they look like, what age they are, based off of their headphones. You can tell. Guys my age, so I'm 3 years older than you, believe it or not. I didn't have an iPad or an iPod at that time. That 3-year gap between you and I is significant, by the way. 84 to 87 is an entirely different generation for some reason. But I go to the gym and all the guys that are my age or older, none of us wear headphones. We talk to each other at the gym. Everyone else is in their own space. This one woman today was in her own space. She was dancing. She was at a good time. I'm like, I'm jealous of that person. And maybe she wants to socialize with us.
I feel like all I'm picturing is you like just smiling at her and being like a creepy Ryan, but like people don't, like, you know what I mean? Like you're thinking, wow, like good for her. Like she's just in her own mind, but what she sees is,
hope you don't get sick.
Yeah. Hope you don't get sick. You know what? You're right.
100%. That's what I was.
I never thought about it that way.
Yeah. Well, there it is.
So it's funny because on Instagram, there's, and this is why I know it's a generational thing. Or on TikTok, actually, I saw it. And they were saying, like, a guy is like literally messed up, twisted when he's at the gym without headphones in his ears because he's really just fucking mad.
Really?
He's working out and he doesn't need anything. He doesn't need any sort of music to get him through his workout. He's just fucking pissed. And I'm like, no, he's just 40 or older.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a really good statement because you're right. If they were younger, it's like they're raging and they don't need to be in their zone. They're just like, maybe they broke up with a girlfriend. Maybe they want to fight some dude. Like, I don't know. This is a pretty big assumption.
Lose yourself in the music the moment you own it. You better never let it go. One more set, goddammit. Where me, I just realize I'm just mad. Yeah. I'm just mad and I need to take it out on these weights until my hands bleed.
That's what you do when you're at the gym? You're mad?
No, that's what they think.
Oh,
they're like,
okay.
What serial killer can work out without music?
Yeah, I need music.
They have, at our gym, they have the radio playing and it's talk radio.
Yeah.
And I listen and I learn.
You're just like laughing.
Yeah. In between sets, that's interesting.
That's funny.
You know what the riddle was today?
What?
The riddle is this. What flips everything around but doesn't move?
What flips everything around but doesn't move? Oh, you got it?
A washer.
A washer? No, a washer moves.
Yeah.
Well, if you load it and you take it to the dryer, that's you.
It's got to be.
I change my laundry. That's me.
It's got to be like metaphorical. It's not like an actual thing.
It's a riddle, so usually.
Yeah. Okay. What flips? Leave it with us, and then we'll answer it. No, actually, I just want to know. Give me a clue. Give me a clue.
It's reflective.
Water.
A mirror.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
A mirror. A mirror flips everything around.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's a good one.
All right.
Anyways.
Well, that's what I learned while working out today. I'm like psychopath Ryan.
Dropping Riley off. Hey, guys.
Shoulders today.
Have a good day at school, guys. Hey, grade 7/8, riddle me this.
Yeah. Riddle me this, riddle me that, Batman.
Okay, so we got a bunch of stuff we're going to talk about today, but the first thing, which is prevalent in our life currently, that has caused a little bit, and by a little bit, I mean like a lot of bit of stress, is vasectomies.
Can I just say, before we talk about vasectomies,
sure.
I'm so glad that we're like zeroing in on like spending more quality time at night together.
Oh.
I think we've put some significant...
Cool.
We've put some significant effort into this lately. This has been a subject of our discussion for quite some time. Yeah. And I don't know if you're consciously putting more effort into it, but I'm aware of it.
Yes.
And I appreciate it.
Awesome.
Which brings us to our next point. After the session the other night, you woke up in the morning and I said, hey, the kids aren't here. You want to have another session this morning? And you said, get away from me.
I was fucking pissed. Okay, so here's the backstory. I have told Ryan multiple times, and sorry, not told. I have asked Ryan.
No, told.
Yeah. No. The first time we've had this conversation, I asked. I said, "Can you please look into booking a vasectomy?" And we are like, I am fertile myrtle. We got pregnant with Riley, and I think we've already told this story, but it's really TMI. like literally, I don't even know if I want to like re-say it, but it's like the pre-situation before the situation happens. That's Riley.
That's not what happened.
Yes, it is.
No, what had happened was
leftovers.
you were out with your girlfriend. DK, out at the bar.
It was the leftovers.
And I was at home by myself. Jesus. And I thought, I got to go to bed because I'm tired. I know she's with DK. I know they're coming back sleeping here. So I know she's okay.
We've told this story before.
And sometimes before I go to bed, as we discussed a couple of weeks ago, I masturbate.
You pow. Except you didn't have the pow.
So no, I masturbate. And usually when I masturbate, the first thing I do as soon as I'm finished is I clean up. Well, you and DK came home. So I'm like, fuck it. I won't. What
do you mean? But like you just didn't clean up anything? You're just I'm just going to sit in the stuff.
I usually clean up and go to the washroom.
Fuck it.
Right? I do it all in the same process. Okay. I go to the washroom, I clean up, and I go pee. Yeah. Right? Well, you and DK came home. So in that old house, there was no washroom that I could go to. I had to leave the room
and go downstairs.
To go downstairs. I'm like, this is awkward. So I just let it be. Well, you came home slightly intoxicated. And then you came up, ready to hang out.
But I need you to confirm, like, what do you mean you just let it be? What was your plan?
I didn't pee out the remaining stuff that was in the hostel.
You wiped the other stuff away,
Of course I wiped the other stuff away.
I feel like that was a little, like, arbitrary. Like, it was like, I'm just going to let it be.
I didn't just put the sheets on and let them...
I feel like that's what it was, like, that's what it sounded like.
Well, if you're listening to this story and you think I just randomly put the sheets on...
That's what it sounded like? Yeah, Jake is like, I'm sorry, man, but you did not clarify. So,
okay, well,
good to clarify.
To clarify, I cleaned up the area.
Got it.
What I did not do is I did not...
Go pee.
Clean out the hostel.
All right, you didn't clean the straw.
Yes.
You didn't do a straw
That's
clean.
Disgusting, and I'm sorry for anyone listening to this. You came home and you were like fixing for a fucking.
I'm fixing to fuck you.
Yeah, and you came up and you assaulted me.
Oh my God. Okay.
And I said to you in the middle of this process, I said, hey, heads up. I just did this. I'm not going to do this again.
No, you said I'm not going to finish. You didn't mean like,
I'm not going to finish. And you said, okay. Well, that's how we got pregnant.
Yes.
Was the hostel.
Yes.
The stuff that was still there was how you got pregnant. So going back to your point,
you didn't finish. And I was
I did not. You were pissed. You were so mad. I'm going back and hanging out with DK. I'm like, go. I just masturbated and had like almost perfect sex.
Anyways,
I didn't finish.
Okay, so that's number one, child number one.
That's how we got pregnant. And then so you're fertile Myrtle.
And Cooper was like, we actively tried during the ovulation period, and all it took was like once, and it was like, that's done. So anyway, fertile Myrtle. And so this is also TMI. I'm not on any birth control, and we don't use condoms. So like, we're playing with fire right now. Like the pull-out method, she ain't great. So I'm saying to you, like, this is really important to me because we're at a point in our life, we are at a point in our life right now where we don't want another child. We've already talked about this. We don't want another kid. And if we got pregnant, we would have that child. Like, we're both adults. We have a career. We have the means. Yes, of course we would have the baby. That's a whole separate conversation. But like, the decision to have the baby would be, obviously we're going to have this baby. And I wouldn't.
You don't want to have that conversation.
Yeah. And so for me, I'm thinking in the future, like, say we do get pregnant, I would be so fucking pissed at you because I would resent you. And I wouldn't want to mix those feelings of resentment and like this amazing miracle. And I just don't want to be put in that situation. Like, that's so uncomfortable. And I feel like I keep asking you to do this thing. Like, I was cut open 2 times for the C-sections, for the babies, for the leftover and for the other one. And you made the comment one time, like, well, why don't you get your tubes tied? And I was like, why don't you go fuck yourself? Like, I was so mad. Because I'm like, I already did that twice. Like, I already got cut open. Like, and I grew them. So you could and should take the opportunity to prevent a future conversation that I don't want to have.
Your points are all valid. And you just
don't want to do it.
It's difficult to argue with those points. And I don't want to argue with those points because those points are valid. And what they are doing is neglecting the fact that I'm worried and concerned about a vasectomy. I personally don't want to have a vasectomy.
Well, then we live in this world going to be using condoms.
We live in this world, and this is a touchy subject, but we live in this world where my body, my choice, except for when it comes to a vasectomy. Men just typically, I'm just saying, men historically were the ones that just decided, hey, you're going to have a vasectomy. It's an easier procedure than the other procedure. 100%, 100%. But it's like, did anyone ever ask if the man wants a vasectomy? Because I'll tell you right now, I don't want a vasectomy. I'm worried that it will affect my testosterone levels. I'm worried that it will affect, which ultimately affects my mood, my weight, everything. I'm worried that it will affect my sex drive. That is something I don't want to ruin.
Okay, but there's so much proof and so many of our friends that you physically know that does not happen.
And I have so many examples of people who I know that are on the other spectrum.
Really?
That's literally,
you've been like, hey man, how's your vasectomy going?
Of course I asked this question because you want me to have a vasectomy. So everyone I know who gets their balls ripped down of them, yeah. I say, hey, how's it?
Yeah, and what was their responses? Like, it sucks, I don't want to have sex anymore?
I know one friend who said, actually, I got hornier. I got one friend who said I lost my sex drive.
Forever.
So, not that they lost it, but that it's not the same.
Okay, so here's my
father flat out said, Ryan, I've never been the same since my vasectomy.
Okay.
If you don't have to do it, don't do it. I know you're upset about this, but I'm telling you, this is how I feel.
I'm not upset, and your feelings are valid. Like, I'm not saying you're not allowed to feel these things. I completely respect that. And the alternative is I'm not going back on birth control. That fucked me up. Like, I'm not doing it. So we're either going to be using condoms or we're not having sex, and we're not having anal. Oh. So you have two options, condoms or no sex. And you said to me, like, well, we're not going to not have sex until I have a vasectomy. If we're not using condoms, maybe that's what's going to take for us to have this serious conversation, because we're literally waiting. I think
we are having this serious conversation. That's the problem.
We're waiting for a catastrophe to happen. I don't want to wait and then figure it out. I want to prevent.
I think we are having this serious conversation. I just don't think you're listening to the other side of the spectrum, because you're so grounded in your points, and your points are so valid. I don't want to argue with them. It has nothing to do with your perspective. Your perspective is accurate, and I don't want to do it.
I've already said this. I've validated your emotions. Even every time you say, like, I don't want to do it, I'm like, I get it. I'm not saying you have to do this. I'm saying the alternative are these two options.
I will do more research. Those are shitty alternatives. That's like saying you don't need the vaccine. You don't have to have the vaccine, but you don't have a job if you don't take it.
I don't want to go there, but I'm saying
you're going to remove sex if I don't have it. That's a shitty scenario.
It's not just shitty for you. It's shitty for me too. But that is how serious I am about this. It's either condoms or no sex, because the alternative, if we don't do these things, is another baby. Like, we're literally just waiting for the universe to be like, wow, these fuckers thought they were going to get no. Like, I don't want to go there and then be like, well, if it isn't the actions of, or whatever, what's that saying? If it isn't the consequences of my actions, like, I don't want to be there. That's all I'm saying.
I've never heard that saying before. Say it again.
Well, if it isn't the consequences of my actions.
That's a cool one.
Anyways.
Yeah. Have you heard about that, Jake? You ever heard that saying?
It makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
It sounds like it should be well known.
It is.
That sounds like people should know that saying.
People do know.
Well, if it isn't the actions of my consequences. What? No, let me try that again. Well, if it isn't the consequences of my actions.
There you go.
That's good. That's brilliant. Take some responsibility and ownership.
So, your feelings are valid. I absolutely respect them. And the alternatives are the two that are on the table.
Here's what I think we should do. And I suggest that anybody who's listening to this, and I'm willing to bet that there are a significant amount of people that are listening to this podcast that have had the same conversation. And I guarantee you that there are men who have had this conversation. Their conversation was neglected. They got the vasectomy and they wish they never did. What I'm suggesting is we collectively do our research. We sit down, we look at what it is, what the pros are, what the cons are, so that we combined are making this choice. You're putting this on a book it, Ryan, book it, Ryan, book it, Ryan, book it, Ryan. Jesus Christ, if you want to have sex, you got to book it. And I'm just saying, let's do anal. That's all I'm suggesting.
You just make that joke because you don't know what else to say, and you've said it so many times. So yes, you have.
It's an awesome alternative. I win.
I'm not saying that.
I don't have to pull out.
I disagree with that. Like, I get it. I'll do research with you. If you end up saying, listen, this is not something I want to do, the options are still the options.
Then condoms are the option.
Okay.
All right.
Cool.
So,
this is awkward.
Anyways, the Blue Jays, they've lost the last 2.
Let's talk about threesomes and polyamory.
Oh, yeah. Let's go into that because there's probably a whole world of women that don't mind if I haven't had a vasectomy. So let's talk about having sex with other people. I'm just kidding. It's a beautiful segue. It's a total beautiful segue. Yeah. Punch me in the face right now. How about a punch in the dick? Okay. So what are your thoughts on three-ways?
You're so awkward. Okay, so we haven't actually had somebody on the podcast who is like not an expert in this, but like we were looking at somebody who was really talking about like polyamorous relationships because it is literally such another world that you don't know about, and swinging and all of that.
We had Luna Matata on,
yes,
who discussed how to have the conversation with your partner. Correct. When you want to elevate the brand.
Sure. That's funny. But we haven't had like a sexpert on that specifically talks about those topics. So this is by no means any advice. It's more of a conversation because I think it's an interesting one. So let's maybe first talk about swinging, because we were talking about there are multiple. We watched that show on Netflix. What's that show? Sex Life.
Sex Love.
Sex Life.
Sex Love.
It's Sex Life.
Love sex.
Well, isn't it the consequences of my own actions?
I think it's Sex Love.
No, it's not. It's Sex Life.
All right, Sex Life.
So in the show, there is a episode where they go to a party, and basically they switch partners. Like your partner is
they
like,
go to a swingers club, a swingers party
for sure. So we were talking about this, and we were talking about how or if we would ever be able to do that. And to be clear, neither of us are in the space right now. And I'm not saying that this couldn't happen in the future, but I'm pretty sure it won't, that we could be with somebody else. So we were digging a bit, and there are multiple different swinging options. There's the soft swap, right? Which is like where I actually forget. Do you remember?
Well, a soft swap is no penetration.
Right. So it's just like oral.
Yeah. So like you can fuck around with someone else. Like let's say, for instance, let's use the example of you and I. Okay. You and I, we go to a party, a swingers party, and we meet another couple, and we hit it off with that other couple, and we agree that we are going to swap partners for that evening. And when we do, we have a set of rules that both parties need to follow. Mm-hmm. This is, to be clear, has never happened.
Correct.
But this is our understanding of it. And we could be wrong here too. But it is our understanding that there are rules of engagement. Right. And a soft swap is you can do absolutely anything with my wife, but you cannot have sex with her.
Right. It says a soft swap indicates a partner trade that doesn't involve penetration. A full swap, on the other hand, indicates a hookup that does involve penetration.
Correct.
So you were right.
Yes.
So I feel like then there's also one that's like, you can, if you go to a party and you are into a full swap, you might have a rule that is like your partner has to be in the same room with their other partner while like, so it's not an orgy because you're not like doing it together, but you're both present so that like you can see your partner. Maybe that's attractive to see your partner with somebody else because people are into that. Or maybe it's just like I feel comfortable because my partner is there.
Well, when you go to a room full of strangers and you meet a stranger, even when you hit it off, if you go into separate rooms, for me as a male, I'm now having my wife in a room with a stranger who I don't know how they behave.
Right.
I don't feel safe about that.
Yeah.
And so, yes, there's just a lot of rules in this space. And it's not until you get digging into it that you realize that there's an entire ecosystem. And by the way, there are a ton of swingers out there.
I know. And the pineapple apparently is the signature. If you have like pineapples on your porch.
Not apparently, it is.
Well, I don't know.
It is the signature. You go on a cruise ship and you see a pineapple on the door upside down. It is full swap, baby. We're here.
Can you imagine if they were just like, no,
for the gangbang.
We really like pineapples.
Yeah, and
it's like an elderly couple.
But you know that saying is
like my pina colada.
You know that saying it's like becoming an adult is realizing you're the only one that doesn't do cocaine. It's the same thing as like becoming. You've ever heard that?
No.
Oh, anyways,
makes sense though.
Yeah, I don't. By the way, just to be clear, but it's like you don't realize and the thing is, and I think that swingers do a really good job. It's like a club. If you don't know that person is a swinger, you don't talk about it.
Right.
It's almost like, and I don't know this because we're not part of the inner crowd here, but it's almost like, you know, and it's almost like they're Freemasons or something. Like they've got some tell.
They have like a little head nod.
Yeah.
How would you even I'd love to actually have somebody on the podcast that is a swinger that we could those old those shows that would be like a crime or something, and they have a witness, and then they'd be in the shadows and they'd blur out their face, and then they'd have like a voice changer, and they could just be on our podcast.
Like to have sex with other people. We always.
My name is Bane. Why are you saying Bane?
That's what they do. They like mute out their voice. Yeah.
Anyway, that would be very good. It would be very interesting.
I'd love to hear from some swingers. Personally, I would love to hear some swingers. But what I'm getting at is there are a lot of rules of engagement, and I think there should be rules of engagement, because the whole assumption almost, and there's a saying, every an assumption is like something, I don't know, making an ass out of me and you.
Don't assume because you make an ass out of you and me.
Yeah, I just don't know how to spell assumption, so I always get them wrong. Anyways, assumptions are not good in that space.
No.
You never want to be in a situation where you and your partner think that the other person is going to do X, because when you find out that they did Y, it's like whoa, that's not cool with me. So there is a lot of rules of engagement, but let's talk about our rules of engagement. I'm
not a swinger. The end.
Yeah. I'm a no for swinging.
Yeah.
I'm a hard no for swinging. The whole and we've talked about this before. I would be more of a full swap than a half swap.
Really?
Because I think you giving another man a blowjob is way worse than you having sex with another man.
We did talk about this because you think me pleasuring somebody with a mouth is worse than somebody doing it to me.
Yeah, because sex is...
Which is so interesting.
Because sex is something that you can enjoy and they can enjoy. Giving a blowjob is something that it's personal. You're making him enjoy it.
Yeah, okay.
You're not getting enjoyment out of a blowjob.
You would say full swing, but no blowjobs.
No blowjob. No half swing. No half swing. Full stop.
What about a handy?
Yeah, well, a handy would be part of... Yeah, you could handy it to get to the full swap, but no mouth.
What about handy spit?
Well, I would... Goodness gracious, Brittany, if you're going to give a hand job, you better put some spit on that thing.
No, I just meant if it was
I'd feel bad for the bloke.
No.
Yeah. He comes back and he's like, oh. I'm like, hand job? Yeah, I've been there. No spit? Yeah, I've been there. Anyways, so I'm adamantly opposed to it. At this point in time in my life, there's no part of me that aspires to have someone else have sex with my wife.
Okay, so here's my other question. So say that we were we'll do full swap. Okay. Say we're in that mind frame. Okay. We're not, but let's pretend we're in there. So
I'm there.
So my question is, do you think that we would
John
have,
Lennon.
We have, because there are prerequisites, there are pre-rules, you need to be in the same room and no blowjobs, full, just penetration. Okay. I would also put in, I don't like kissing, because kissing's super personal to me, that I'm don't fuck with kissing. I don't like that. My other point is, afterwards, do we say we don't talk about that? We don't talk about it after, or do we talk about it? Because I think that this is where it can get a little bit messy, because you're speaking about it. And I think that you specifically would have a really hard time if I was if you're so how was it? I'm well, I'm going to be yeah, it was good. How good? Did you do you know what I mean? So it's almost what happens in the past.
I'm not built for swinging unless the guy was terrible.
I know, but this is what I'm saying.
Then I want to know about it.
You're in
tell me how bad he was.
You're in this space. So we are in this space. Do you think that we would have that rule of after it happens, we don't talk about it. We don't talk about it. Because I think that's where a lot of our issues would come, because I think I would be concerned and annoyed with you being it was really great when we did this, or she had nice tits. I know that those things happened in the moment, but I don't really want to rehash that.
See, for me, I think if I were to enter into the world of swinging, my initial launch pad would be us in the same room. Mm-hmm. So I would know how your experience was, because I would be hyper focused on you having sex with another man.
No, I get that.
I feel bad for the other woman, but I would know. So we wouldn't have to necessarily talk about the processes, right? Like how big was he? Was he strong? Was he dominant? Well, we wouldn't have to do that because I would have seen it. What I would say is we would have to have I would definitely have a conversation around our emotions. How did it feel? What are your thoughts? Is this something you could do again?
Okay, maybe after like the first couple times.
I wouldn't need play by play because I would have seen it.
That's not what I was asking.
If you were in another room, my mind would not allow me to not know.
But to be clear, that's not what I was asking. I wasn't saying like we need to speak and be like, well, then we did this and then we did this. I'm just saying like,
but that's how I would need to know those answers. So
if we're in the same room after I agree, we would have to be like, were you okay? Like, did this work? Whatever. I think that what would be beneficial is to talk about maybe some things that we didn't like. Like, you know what, next time if we do this, let's make sure it's not this, or like, I didn't like this, like, and have those open conversations. But I just find it so fascinating, like in the ecosystem of swinging, how people develop their own little like playbook and how it works with everybody else. Like it is very much a club that you don't know about until you know about. It's so interesting.
And not only that, but like from a couple standpoint, everything is theoretical.
Right.
Everything is theoretical until it's not. And the moment it's not, now there is something to manage. Mm-hmm. It's like, we always talk about what if this and what if that and what if this. Well, none of that is worth really investigating until it's happened. When it comes to swinging, I would say that you would probably have to have a significant amount of conversations prior to that happening.
For sure.
And then to your point, as you do it and progress through it, I think there's going to be a cadence that works for you. Mm-hmm. But you have to communicate it, because for me, I know I'm me and you are you. There's no way that my thoughts and your thoughts align perfectly, ever.
Right.
So to understand you and to understand what worked for you, what didn't work for you, what was effective, what was ineffective, and vice versa. There may be things that happened to you that I thought, hey, listen, next time I really didn't like that.
Yeah, for sure.
I really did. It bothers me. It's still thinking about it. Mm-hmm. And maybe over time I could develop and be like, that thing over time, you know what? Hey, we've done this 7 times. Do that thing again. Let me see how I feel about that.
Right.
But if you don't have that open conversation and recognize that the first time you do it, you're not going to get it right.
I also think it's just so scary because it's such a big risk. Like people are literally taking this risk, maybe because it's all hypothetical. You're right. It's all theoretical. Maybe a couple has talked about it and they're like, you know what? Yeah, I think we're in a space where we can do it. And then everything becomes real. And that space that you sit in after is really scary because it puts your relationship in a space that you are trying to navigate afterwards. You can't go back. Right. And like how you come from that is very scary. So I really give a lot of respect for people who can like talk through that. And that's the biggest part is communication.
Yeah. There was a TV show on Playboy, the Playboy channel.
I remember that.
And I think it was called Swing. And there's a couple seasons of it. And I was fascinated by it because these were real life couples. They got interviewed before they went on the show. They had a psychiatrist come in and literally like a marriage counselor and psychiatrist come in to be like, why do you want to do this?
I watched an episode.
All of the impacts of it. They were really good shows. And then they would come into this like frat house of other swingers.
It was like Big Brother.
It was Big Brother.
Like swinging.
But swinger. But so each week there was 2 new couples. They were interviewed. They went through all the whole process because the show needed to make sure that they were in the right mindset before they entered so that they weren't getting sued for all of this stuff, right? So they vetted these guys out perfectly. And I distinctly remember there's a handful of shows where even though they went through this whole process, now they got a camera in front of them. Yeah. They're like the extreme of we're ready to fuck other people. Yeah. It still didn't work out. Well, the husband would bail or the wife would bail and it would be like, no, I don't want you to do this. Because what they would do is they would do like 2 days. It was like 2 or 3 days. And they do like sexy games in the pool and they would get to know each other and they get all comfortable and they go into a party and they would all have fun and they'd kiss and they'd do this. And then the last night they'd all enter into this red room and that's when they would all have sex with each other.
But it was like an orgy down there. It wasn't.
It was a huge orgy. Yeah. It was a huge orgy. But what the whole idea was you were supposed to find a couple in the 2 or 3 days that you felt comfortable doing this. And then once that process happened, then it was just like a free for all. It either progressively gets better or progressively gets worse. But there were many times on that show where the person's like, I don't want to go in the red room.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the other person's like, wait. Like I now want to go in the red room more than I've ever wanted to go in the red room.
Because their feelings are still valid too. Like you guys both came into this, like, I want to do this. And now you have to respect that your partner's like, deuces, I don't want to be here. And the other person's like, well, I'm sorry. Like I do. That's so hard.
I would say that in every relationship, there's one person that's more interested in swinging than the other.
I think too, like it's a conversation about people who have like specific swinging partners. Like maybe you have a couple that you constantly swing with which I think could be very dangerous.
Is that not polyamory?
No, I think it's still swinging because you're like, oh yeah, we swing with them, right? Like, I think it would be strange, and some people do it.
That's a throuple.
No, it's not.
A quadruple?
No, it's just people that you would swing with. Like you swing with other people, but you've come back. It's not a one night swing. It's multiple, right? But I think that would be hard because those are where feelings develop.
Yeah, I was going to say, if I'm always having sex with the same woman and it's not you, there's feelings. Then I've got feelings for that woman.
You're catching feelings for sure, which I think would be another rule. Anyways, this is
let's dive into this a little bit more on another podcast. Let's bring somebody else in. Let's bring someone who's experienced it, and let's bring someone who is like coaches around it.
Yeah, I love that.
Because I'd like this perspective. I'd like to talk about polyamory.
Yeah.
I'd like to talk about threesomes. I'd like to have these conversations. They're enlightening. Mm-hmm. And the reality of it is we've been married now for almost 7 years. I'm not saying that I'm itchy or anything along those lines, but we've been together. Thank you. We've been together for 13 years.
Yeah.
These are conversations that a lot of couples have at this point in time in their lives because they've been together for so long. Things are the norm. And sometimes they want to push the envelope. So I think this is a safe place for us to have this conversation for people who are maybe too shy to have this conversation with their partner.
I agree.
Maybe we can be that place for them.
Amazing.
All right. Peace out, A-Town. Boop, boop,
Bye.
boop, boop. Astafi. Threesome.
Aside from my soul.